The final episode of The Last of Us Season 2 aired on Sunday. And now that I've seen the whole season, I have thoughts. Many, many thoughts and many, many feelings. And none of them are positive. I'm going to try and keep this video fairly brief because there are people who are far more qualified than me who have done some excellent breakdowns of all the issues with The Last of Us Season 2. And honestly, this isn't so much a review of the show as it is a rant. Because, dear God, do I hate this show. I will try and steer clear of major spoilers, at least for the purposes of this video, but you still may want to proceed with caution if you have plans to watch it later on. Anyway, without further ado, let's dive in. There were many issues with the second season of The Last of Us. Honestly, too many to get into depth here, but the whole show was riddled with bad writing, cringe dialogue, and incredibly questionable narrative decisions. For one thing, the show absolutely trashed the characters and dynamics they had carefully, and, in my opinion, pretty successfully, built up in the first season. They forced both Ellie and Joel to act in ways antithetical to their nature, and the conflict between them at the start of the season felt very forced and unnatural. There's also the matter of a pivotal plot point in episode 2. If you know, you know. While some people, myself included, hated the narrative decision that was made, I think there were ways it could have been implemented and have it not be so jarring. As it was, however, the showrunner's decision to keep it so early on in the show, mimicking the same event which took place early on in the game, was a huge mistake, and it cost the show both viewers and goodwill. As someone who was familiar with the events of the game, I knew what to expect, and that was bad enough. But I feel for the poor bastards who had only watched the first seasons and had no idea of what was coming. The writing in the show was also extraordinarily bad. Some of the cringiest dialogue known to man were produced in this show. Allow me to submit to you, for your consideration.
What's up with all the rainbows? I don't know. Maybe they were all optimists.
Holy shit. I'm gonna be a dad.
Who, in their right mind, would hear these lines and go, yeah, that sounds good. Let's stick that in the show that we desperately want people to think is grounded and gritty and serious. The show was also just boring. I watched the first season and actually quite enjoyed it. It honored the game, and while I didn't agree with all of the choices made, overall, it was an excellent adaptation of a game I loved. And there was only one episode that I could truly say I was bored by. The second season, on the other hand, every single episode was an absolute slog to get through. I was constantly checking my phone, wondering how much longer I was going to be forced to watch a show that dragged on, and on, and on. It got so bad that when Sunday rolled around and I thought about the new episode coming out, I was filled with dread. Which is not an emotion a successful show should be engineering in its viewers. To be fair to the show, though, it wasn't entirely without merit. It looked nice enough, and say what you will, but the second season of The Last of Us was faithful to the game, which is also the reason I personally hate it so much, but credit where credit is due. Now, to be fair, I haven't ever played The Last of Us Part 2. I have no desire to. I did play the first game and I loved it, but when I heard about the second game and some of the story decisions that happened in it, I decided I was good and didn't need to experience it. So I can't really say how accurate to the game the show was. However, I have seen bits and pieces of the second game and watched other people play it, and there were several recognizable scenes from the game that appeared in the show. Also, the first season did a fantastic job of mimicking several important parts of the first game, so I'll give the show the benefit of the doubt and assume the second season is pretty much the same. As far as praise goes, though, that's really all I have to say about it. I honestly think Season 2 of The Last of Us was doomed from the start. It never really had a chance. People who hated The Last of Us Part 2, the game, were never going to like a season of television that was a faithful adaptation of that game. And a lot of people who didn't know what was going to happen prior to watching the show were going to be pretty pissed when they found out. And this is pretty much what happened when the game originally came out. By adhering rigidly to the blueprint of the game, the show was destined to come to the same fate. It was going to be divisive and controversial. And this is exactly how it played out. After episode 1, The Last of Us Season 2 had an audience score of about 66% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, at the end of the season, it is sitting at an embarrassing 38%. As for the future of the show, I honestly can't say I'm very optimistic about it. Season 3, which of course we already knew about, is slated to come out in 2027 or so. But apparently the showrunners are so excited about this show that they are also planning on a Season 4. If the caliber of Season 2 is anything to go by though, we don't really have much to look forward to. Quite frankly, I think they're already pushing their luck with Season 3, especially considering how the second season has gone over with people, but to also have a 4th season after that, there's no way. At the end of the day, The Last of Us Season 2 is a good adaptation of a bad story. I wouldn't recommend it by any means, but I think if you enjoyed the game, you'd probably enjoy the show. But if you were one of those people who absolutely hated The Last of Us Part 2, then don't even bother watching this. It will only result in you being pissed and depressed. Anywho, that's my take on The Last of Us Season 2. If you also decided to watch it despite knowing you'd probably hate it, in which case, hello fellow masochists, or if you disagree and think it's fantastic, or if you don't care and are just here for the drama, leave your thoughts below, and I will see you, wonderful peeps, next time. Bye!